Here he is, Woody Roseland. Give it up.
Columbus, Ohio, Pelotonia 2012, make some noise! I hear you, and you know who else hears you? The world hears you. They hear you in MD Anderson in Houston, Texas, in the Mayo Clinic, Johns Hopkins, Sloan Kettering. So one more time, make some noise! We're all here because we've been affected by cancer, and I've had my fair share of cancer in my life. I was initially diagnosed when I was 16 years old with osteosarcoma in my left knee. I had a complete knee replacement, the same surgery usually reserved for 65-year-old ex-football players. I thought I was done with cancer after this, but my body had different plans in mind. The cancer ended up returning in my lungs. Much to my dismay, this wasn't an isolated incident. It reappeared again and again and again. 4 total times I've been told that I would need lung surgery to remove tumors. This was always alarming because I've always responded well to chemotherapy. It finally made sense when they found a 4-inch tumor lurking in my calf that was seeding my lungs. So, we quickly amputated my leg and got me started back on chemotherapy that I finished just a few months ago. Being diagnosed with Thank you. Being diagnosed with cancer is an interesting thing. You've received that god-awful news that everyone hopes they won't hear, but statistically, probably will. You're shocked, horrified, you update Facebook, get a heaping of condolences, Google your cancer, read, cry, read a little more. This is a low point in your life. But after a few days, you realize that this is happening. So here you are, on the precipice where normalcy and comfort are part of the past, and your only options go toe-to-toe and brawl with cancer until you destroy every last malignant cell in your body. No retreat, no compromises. This isn't a drug trial that compares the survival rate of sample group X with control group Y. This is about one person who's found themselves in the most ancient of human conditions, a battle to the death. And as long as there's a 1 in 1 million chance, you will fight tooth and nail until you are victorious. Sometimes life puts you in these serendipitous situations that can't really be explained. When I was first diagnosed, I met a young man named Jace. Even though he was much younger than me, everything with him was very similar to me. Same cancer, same treatment, same problems. I'd go into his room and I'd be like, "Hey man, have you pooped recently?" He'd be like, "I haven't pooped in days." I'd be like, "Okay, good, me too." Having cancer, you realize it's not a demographic. It's everyone. It's the entrepreneurs, the accountants, the cyclists. It's a vicious, terrible, unbiased disease. Jason and I finished treatment weeks apart. Entering remission with that young man was one of the greatest joys of my entire life. It was fantastic seeing him go from a bedridden cancer patient to the happy-go-lucky 8-year-old he should have been. When you enter remission, that's defined as the absence of disease activity. Most people think that this means they're done with cancer. They've reached the end of this journey that took them to what they could humanly endure. And since they're finished, that means they're done with cancer. But unfortunately, that's not always the case. You'll feel exactly the same as someone who responded ideally to treatment, even if you didn't. This is when you're at the highest risk of the cancer returning. The next time I heard from Jace was a call from his mother, letting me know the cancer had returned. It only took a few months before he ended up passing away on December 7th of 2008. Now, because I beat cancer, I often get praised. People say to me, "You're so strong." If I'm strong because I beat cancer, that implies that the people who didn't are in comparison less strong. I didn't fight any harder than Jace. For some arbitrary reason, my body responded better to chemotherapy than his. I wasn't better. I was luckier. So now what? Now I'm here and he's not. I remember shortly after his death, it was during the coldest, darkest months of the winter, and I was taking the light rail home from work one day. I was trying to get out of the freezing wind by standing behind a pillar. And on this pillar had a light rail map. And on this map, it showed each of the stops. And at the stop I was at, it had a sticker that said, "You are here. You are here." and I stared at it for a solid 5 minutes, and I was left in tears because I was here, and where was Jace? And I got angry. And anger can be an underrated emotion. Anger can motivate you. Anger destroys apathy. Sometimes you need to get upset, put your foot down, say, this is not okay, and I'm gonna do something about it. I remember as I stood at the light rail, and I looked around the crowd, I saw the typical light rail crowd, the professional, the student, the couple. And I saw the same thing there that I see here today, potential. If you talk to anyone throughout human history and you say, in your wildest dreams, what are all the things you want? We have them all. Not just a few of them, we have them all. And what do? We sit on Facebook. We watch our lives pass us by one tweet at a time. We're all here because we have one goal, to end cancer. Is there risk associated with that? Putting yourself out there, donating your time and money? Absolutely. But it's gotten to the point where the risk associated with not helping anyone is so much monumentally greater than any possible risk of action. So much so that to not make a conscious effort to help others make this world a better place is morally reprehensible. Life's a battle. You learn that very quickly when you have cancer. But it's not just about cancer. Everyone's going through their own battles, whether it's unemployment, depression, unhappiness. I'd be willing to bet that the vast majority of people here are struggling with some sort of battle in their own life. A foundation came to me and asked me to write a letter to someone recently diagnosed with cancer. This is what I came up with. Dear osteosarcoma patient, it's rare that life hands you a gift-wrapped opportunity to improve yourself. You probably feel otherwise at this point. You're ready to be done with the doctor's appointments, the surgeries, and the endless chemotherapy. And you should be. Having cancer is extremely difficult. But just know that what you can gain from this is far greater than what you've lost. Winston Churchill famously said, when going through hell, keep going. My approach to enduring chemotherapy, rehab, or any other struggle is very similar. Most of the time, you don't have a choice whether or not it's happening. When dealing with cancer, you learn who you are. Adversity reveals man to himself. You've been preparing yourself for this your entire life. You've been going to school, learning from your parents, absorbing from the culture around you. Now's your time to show the world how strong you really are. What a beautiful opportunity. Embrace it. This letter's meant to help you throughout your journey with cancer. Just know you'll grow and change more than you expect, and you're now part of something bigger than yourself. Sincerely, Woody Roseland. Now you see, when I was writing this letter, I was first dealing with my amputation and re-diagnosis. And the more I worked on it, the more I realized I wasn't writing this letter to some hypothetical kid with cancer. I was writing it to myself. So I'll finish with this. Whenever you have the opportunity to help someone else, make the most out of it. Because most time when you help others, you actually end up helping yourself. So never forget, you are here. What's your one goal? Thank you.
We thought he'd be a little more interesting than a news correspondent. 20-year-old, incredible friend. Woody, you're awesome.